We often joke about how Australia today seems designed to kill you. From venomous spiders hiding in your shoes to crocodiles lurking in rivers, modern Australia has earned its reputation as nature's most hostile continent. But here's the thing that'll really blow your mind. Everything we fear about Australia today is absolutely nothing compared to what this land was like just 50,000 years ago. Picture this. You're one of the first humans to set foot on Australian soil. You've made an incredible journey across treacherous waters, and you think you've found a new paradise. But within hours of landing, you realize you've stepped into what can only be described as nature's ultimate nightmare theme park. The first thing that would catch your attention? The sound of heavy footsteps thundering across the landscape. But these weren't coming from any mammal you'd recognize. Meet the Quinkana. And yes, that's a crocodile running toward you on land at full speed. This wasn't some crocodile that occasionally wandered onto shore. This was a genuine terrestrial crocodile that had evolved to hunt on dry land, complete with long legs that could carry its 10-foot frame faster than most humans could run. What made the Quinkana truly terrifying wasn't just its speed, but its arsenal. Those teeth weren't designed for the crushing bite we associate with modern crocodiles. Instead, they were blade-like, serrated weapons borrowed from the dinosaur playbook, what scientists call ziphidont teeth. Each bite would slice through flesh like a hot knife through butter, causing massive blood loss and trauma. And just when you thought you might escape by jumping into water, fossil evidence suggests these land crocs were perfectly capable swimmers too. But the Quinkana was just the opening act. The real headliner was something that redefined what we thought we knew about lizards. The Megalania, or as scientists now prefer to call it, Varanus priscus, was essentially a Komodo dragon that had hit the evolutionary gym for a few million years. We're talking about a monitor lizard that could reach lengths of up to 26 feet and weigh as much as a small car. Now, here's where it gets really interesting from a scientific perspective. Modern monitor lizards, including the famous Komodo dragon, are all venomous. Their venom acts as an anticoagulant, preventing blood from clotting and keeping wounds open for extended periods. This leads to shock, infection, and eventually death. Since the Megalania was essentially a supersized monitor lizard, it likely possessed this same biological warfare system. Imagine being bitten by a creature the size of a pickup truck, escaping the immediate attack, only to slowly succumb to venom-induced blood loss over the following days. The hunting strategy would have been absolutely methodical. One bite, then retreat and wait. In the harsh Australian landscape, there was nowhere to run for proper medical treatment, nowhere to hide from an animal that could track you across vast distances. It was patience predation on a scale we can barely comprehend today. But perhaps the most unsettling predator was one that challenged our very understanding of what makes a dangerous animal. The Wonambi was a constrictor snake that reached lengths of 20 feet, but here's the twist. It couldn't actually swallow its prey whole like modern pythons. Its jaw structure was too primitive, too inflexible for that classic snake move we see in nature documentaries. So, what did it do instead? It would constrict its victims just like any other python, cutting off circulation until they lost consciousness. But then, instead of swallowing them whole, it would use its razor-sharp teeth to literally tear chunks off its still warm prey, sometimes disemboweling them in the process. It's a feeding method so disturbing that it makes you appreciate the efficiency of modern predators. Even the mammals had evolved into something from a fever dream. The Thylacoleo, affectionately known as the marsupial lion, was actually more closely related to koalas than to any actual lion. But don't let that fool you. This was an apex predator with the strongest bite force pound for pound of any known mammal. Its teeth were unlike anything in the modern world. Massive incisors for piercing deep into flesh, and premolars that resembled flat blades designed to sever windpipes and arteries. What's fascinating about the Thylacoleo is how it represents convergent evolution at its most extreme. Here was a marsupial that had independently evolved many of the same hunting adaptations we see in big cats, but taken to an almost absurd degree. It could kill prey 15 times its own weight in under a minute, a feat that puts modern lions to shame. And then there were the herbivores, which had responded to this predatory arms race by becoming living tanks. The Diprotodon was essentially a wombat scaled up to elephant proportions, weighing nearly 4 tons. Despite being a strict vegetarian, it possessed a bite force of 11,000 newtons, enough to snap a human femur like a twig. When your local vegetarians can accidentally kill you while chewing grass, you know you're in a hostile environment. But here's what I find most remarkable about this entire ecosystem. Humans not only survived in this environment, they thrived. Archaeological evidence shows that early Aboriginal Australians were successfully hunting these megafauna giants. They developed sophisticated strategies to take down animals that outweighed them by thousands of pounds, using fire, coordinated group tactics, and an intimate knowledge of animal behavior. This tells us something profound about human adaptability and intelligence. While every other species in Australia was engaged in a biological arms race, getting bigger, stronger, more venomous, more armored, humans won through cooperation, tool use, and strategic thinking. We didn't evolve claws or venom or massive jaws. We evolved something far more powerful, the ability to work together and think several steps ahead. The extinction of Australian megafauna around 40,000 years ago coincides remarkably closely with human arrival. Whether humans were the primary cause, climate change was the culprit, or it was a combination of factors remains hotly debated among scientists. But one thing is certain. The Australia we know today, dangerous as it seems, is just a shadow of the biological nightmare that once was. So the next time someone mentions Australia's reputation for deadly wildlife, remember that we're actually living in the gentle, tamed version of this continent. The real Australia, the one that would have tested every survival instinct our species possessed, disappeared along with the last Megalania, the final Thylacoleo, and the massive Diprotodon herds that once thundered across this ancient land. In many ways, prehistoric Australia represents evolution unleashed, what happens when predators and prey push each other to absolute extremes over millions of years. It was a world where being big wasn't enough, being fast wasn't enough, being smart wasn't enough. You had to be all of these things and more just to see another sunrise. And somehow, impossibly, our ancestors not only survived this gauntlet, but emerged as its ultimate victors.